Hello, I am so excited to welcome you all today to Alta Live. We are so excited to discuss today's topic. We've got independent booksellers who are here with their last minute gift recommendations in books. If you are anything like me, there are a number of wonderful people who remain on your nice list that you still need to buy gifts for. Never fear, independent bookstores are open. You can walk into one right after the show and pick up any number of the books we're going to discuss today. The way this is going to work is that, well, first, let me introduce our guests. I am so excited to welcome today's guests, booksellers, Mary Lee Delafield from Warwick's in La Jolla, California, John Evans from Diesel, a bookstore in Santa Monica and San Diego, and Louisa Smith from Book Passage in the Bay Area. As I was just saying, my childhood bookstore, Book Passage in Corte Madera. So we are so excited to welcome them today. And what I'm going to do is I've got a number of book categories, and we're going to do Red Robin. We'll go My Clockwork, Mary Lee, John, Louisa, with each category. Each of our guests is going to give you their recommendation for what to give someone in that particular category. We've got the lists in advance. We're going to get you all links to those. This conversation is being recorded and will be posted to altaonline.com later this afternoon. We're also going to email you every single one of the books that they talk about, along with links to those. My wonderful colleague, Jessica Blau, is on top of that, taking notes, getting links, and hopefully making everyone's shopping life a little bit easier this holiday season. Before we begin, there's the greatest gift of all to give is a membership to Alta Journal, the award-winning quarterly publication focused on California and the West. We host weekly events like Alta Live. We host the California Book Club. In fact, we just had Jaime Cortez talking about Gordo. We love and support independent booksellers, as I'm sure you do. You would be here if you didn't. And we make a really fabulous gift. So right now we're offering a deal. If you buy a year of Alta, you get this really cool California Book Club hat, as well as an upcoming book, California Book Club selection book. So toss that gift you can do in 30 seconds and it'll happen magically. But without further ado, I'm going to get the ball rolling. And I'm zooming in from Novato, California. Mary Lee, where are you today?
I am in La Jolla, California.
John, what about you?
I am in Pacific Palisades, California at the moment.
And Louisa?
I am in Los Altos, California.
The Golden State. Here we are. All right, let's get straight to it. Hi, Truckee. Hi, South San Francisco. Everyone, please thank you, someone, for saying you like my headband. I get a lot of teasing about it at work, but it's my last show of the season. Sacramento, hi. All right, so let's begin with you. Mary Lee, what is your pick for fiction?
All right, so I have two. I'll be quick because I can tend to be long-winded. This is Other Birds by Sarah Addison Allen. If you have not looked at her Instagram in the month of December, she has a short story for every single day. They're worth it. Go read it. This is a lovely story. It conveys a powerful belief in everlasting memory. It's about a group of people who would never find themselves together. They all live in a condominium complex on the fictional Mallow Island, which is off the coast of Charleston, South Carolina. And they are all haunted by something or someone, both literally and figuratively. This is a story about found family and finding your flock. Quickly, I'd like to mention Mercury Pictures presents, sorry, I don't think you can really see the cover, by Anthony Mara. I loved Constellations of Vital Phenomena, and he does something in this book that he did in that one, and that is whenever a character leaves the story for good, he tells you what happens to them. And that is something that I love. Amy Bloom does that as well. This is a story about the bit players that find themselves in Los Angeles during one of Hollywood's most traumatic times. And our main character, Maria, has left Mussolini's Italy, and she's gone to work for studio head Artie Feldman. The writing is gorgeous. And again, it tells all the stories about all the bit players that make up life. Okay,
Love it.
I'm out.
Sean from Diesel.
Nice. I'm picking the book that our customers picked for the year, which is
Oh,
Mouth to Mouth by Antoine Wilson. It's our #1 best-selling fiction for the year. It's his third book. Each of them are fantastic. It's like Amor Tolls. Yeah, every single book is great in a different way. Mouth to Mouth is the story of two schoolmates who don't see each other after they graduate from UCLA and then meet each other in an airport in Boston 25 years later. And one of them is a writer and the other one has had very interesting life experiences that he decides to kind of confess / tell this old friend of his that he'll probably never see again. And it's written in a style, a sort of masterful stylist, Antoine Wilson. So it's sort of like Graham Greene or Somerset Maugham, a lot of subtlety. It's been compared to Patricia Highsmith. The people on the back that love this book, Marissa Silver, who's an LA great writer herself, Lauren Groff, Andrew Sean Greer, Jonathan Lethem, Sarah Manguso, Adam Johnson, and Daniel Alarcon. All of those recommend this book for different reasons. And if you read the back of this, you'll get a sense of what the whole book is like. It's sort of sit on the edge of your seat, psychological thriller that's a cool, slow burn. Most people read it in one long, obsessed sitting. So I highly recommend it. I don't know anybody who doesn't love Mouth to Mouth by Antoine Wilson.
And shout out to Andrew Sean Greer, who is our upcoming February California Book Club selection with his book, Less.
Yeah.
All right, Louisa.
Thanks, Beth, so much for having me back here again. This is my favorite event of the year. So thank you guys at Alta. I have 2 books as well, but I'll try to be brief. The first I have to talk about is a stunning debut that we all fell in love with called Trespasses by Louise Kennedy. It takes place in Northern Ireland during the Troubles, which is a tumultuous time defined by years of sectarian conflict. It's beautifully written in the style of Irish lyricism and weaves together a story of love, hate, loyalty, and loss. It's set in the mid-70s when a young Catholic woman, is living amongst the predominantly Protestant community. However, she is drawn to the secret, forbidden love affair, and soon her world starts to unravel and fall apart and eventually implodes. I fell in love with this novel from the first few pages to the absolutely perfect ending. It reads like an Irish Anne Patchett or Marilyn Robinson. We all fall in love with this book, so keep an eye out for it. And the other one, which is very much shifting gears, but also in the realm of sort of interesting love stories, is Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin. It's a modern sort of love story about 2 friends who collaborate on a very unique type of video game and find an intimacy in this imagined world that's missing in their real lives. They have their big first blockbuster, but having everything work out doesn't protect them from their own sort of creative egos and the betrayals of their hearts. It's a dazzling, intricately plotted story that imagines friendship, identity, creativity, disability, failure, the possibilities in play, and most importantly, our need to connect with one another. It's by the best-selling author of Storied Life of A.J. Thickery, and it contains a lot of nostalgia for the pioneer age of the 1990s game design, but it's really a novel about platonic romance and the importance of that. It's sweeping and gorgeous. It'd be perfect for a millennial, but it's also perfect for those of us that actually lived through the 90s. So 50-year-olds and 40-year-olds, it's a wonderful read.
I love that my millennial coworker has just pointed out that she's reading this book right now. All right, Mary Lee, we are moving on to nonfiction history.
Okay, so my pick is River of the Gods. I'm sorry, my lights are making it difficult. I think the subtitle says it all: genius, courage, and betrayal in the search for the source of the Nile. In 1854, maybe, the Royal Geographical Society chose Richard Francis Burton to lead an expedition to find the source of the White Nile, which is the longest branch of the Nile. He hired 2 gentlemen to accompany him. John Hanning Spake and Sidi Mubarak Bombay, and Spake and Burton did not get along. And Millard does a brilliant job of recounting the racial power dynamics involved in this endeavor, and she brilliantly illuminates the characters of Burton, Spake, and Bombay.
Good for my dad. Okay, John.
Okay, so this book is selling like crazy in our store. I don't know if it is in your other stores, but this is a biography of Hilma af Klint, who had her artwork was displayed after, I guess, almost 80 years at the Guggenheim in a one-person show. She is a Swedish artist who insisted that her artwork not be shown for 20 years after her death because the world wasn't ready for it. As it turns out, it wasn't displayed till much later, and she wanted her art displayed in a spiral temple, which is exactly how Frank Lloyd Wright described the Guggenheim. And so almost 100 years after she started, she started in 1906, so 116 years after her first painting came out, and she was much acclaimed at the time as perhaps the first abstract artist before Kandinsky. She's a visionary, beautiful artist. Someone like Agnes Martin, I feel like she's got this kind of influence on the art world right now. And I think also her, let's see if I can grab any of the other photographs of, she started off with very representational things like this. She graduated in the 19th century, and then into abstraction, some of them filled with spiritual intonations. I went to the Venice Biennale, and the focus of it was on Leonora Carrington, and the entire exhibit was women artists like Hilma af Klint, but in the surrealist vein, all women artists, and the biographies of women artists at this point and the artworks that are coming out are slowly shifting our culture from the aesthetic side. And we need a lot of shifting, don't you think? I think we do. So people are fascinated with her and her life and how she could be so accomplished, so successful at that time, not get the attention she deserved, and finally getting it now. So it's a great biography, great history.
Wow. All right, Louisa.
Well, I didn't go as far as Venice to get my inspiration for this pick. I wish I had, but instead, this is a book that I didn't realize how incredible it was when I bought it in for the store. But when I was wandering around the store one day, I happened upon it and have become obsessed with it. And it's called The History of the World in 100 Animals by Simon Barnes. And it's a fully illustrated exploration of the 100 animals that have had the biggest influence on humanity throughout the ages. It's perfect for anybody that loves a history of the world in 100 objects. It tells the story of how animals have shaped human civilization. And so this is for animal lovers as well as natural history and history buffs. It shows how humans are as much members of the animal kingdom as the cats and dogs that live with us, or the cows and fish that we eat, or the bees that pollinate our food. It talks about very specific animals, like the flea that almost destroyed human civilization in Europe, or how pigeons made possible the largest breakthrough in human thought. The book weaves together zoology, biology, evolution, culture, science, art, history. It's epic, and it has all these fascinating little stories and truths. I'm going to just show you how it's illustrated. Here's the one for the falcon, and it's just beautifully, beautifully illustrated. Every chapter is very short, so you can just sort of pop in and out of it. I just love looking at history from a point of view I never even thought of before. So this is right up my wheelhouse, and it's one that I'm giving to a lot of people that are difficult to shop for, to tell you the truth. And then I do have to mention Coast of California by Obi Kaufman. If you have not seen his books before, you're in for such a treat. He's an incredible artist, an incredible science writer, or nature writer. This one investigates the 1,200 miles of the California coast, where the land meets the ocean, that whole area. It's gorgeous watercolor maps and illustration. He explores the rhythms of the tides and the animals that live around there, and the shore, the soil along the shore. it's expansive look at California, but it's also very detailed. It's beautiful. I'm just going to show you a little bit. So here's one part where the salmon are and the trees and the redwoods, and here's his exploration. Oh, this is Monterey Bay. So that's the bay, and that's the kelp that grow there. It's more than a tourist guide. It's really sort of a meditation on California and a very important aspect of California. If you really love somebody, you wouldn't just get them this though. You would get all 3 of the Obie Kaufman books, which are all gorgeous about California.
And Desert is coming out, his desert book, again, the desert, is coming out late next year, if I'm not mistaken. Big fan of Obie Kaufman. Okay, Mary Lee Delafield. Next on our list is biography memoir.
Okay, so I went with a little bit of a commercial choice, The Queen, but
Yes.
really, I think we all love her. We thought she was going to live forever. This is by Andrew Morton, who, of course, we know his fame. And we also all know the outline, right? She was the oldest child of the spare. Then she became the heir. Then she became queen. She married Philip. She had 4 children. 1992 was her annus horribilis. She did not handle Diana's death well. It was not her finest moment. She is the longest reigning monarch, and she's a friend of James Bond and Paddington the Bear. So, I have not watched The Crown. I think everyone else in the world has watched it. I have not watched it. I will watch it. However, so for me, I found this to be fascinating to actually read her life in chronological order, because I knew bits and pieces. There's a great story about the dollhouse at Windsor Castle, which I had seen. But I just think that we forget that first and foremost, she was a woman and she had hopes and she had dreams, and her legacy is change within continuity. And I think that that is a very important message actually for the world today. So my pick is The Queen by Andrew Morton.
All right, John.
Stay True by Hua Xu. So this is an extraordinary memoir. It's really a memoir of a relationship. He grew up in California, and he writes for the New Yorker. He's a beautiful writer, supposedly a very beautiful writing teacher as well. But this memoir covers his friend, the time when he was in Berkeley and Oakland. The landscape of Berkeley and Oakland is also described impeccably, and that I lived there for 40 years, and the human landscape of Oakland and Berkeley, he's a master. But the story is about his dear friend who was a frat boy, and he was sort of the polar opposite of a frat boy, and he never thought he'd have this friend, and they became so incredibly close, and mostly around music. And so all the music of the late 80s and early 90s infiltrates this. He's a music writer as well. He's was a DJ. He put out zines and was kind of a countercultural figure in the 80s and 90s. But his whole group of friends were rocked to their soul when this friend of his was kidnapped and killed. And so the story is about the impact of that death on all of them, the impact on the life of this friend of his. And so it's an extremely emotional, touching, honest, piercingly honest book. And it's getting rave reviews everywhere, and rightfully so. It's a work of genius. And one other book on the sort of biography, where does poetry fit? It's not fiction. It's not nonfiction. It's a whole other thing. So N. Scott Momaday has been writing these books lately that are deep dream meditations with drawings, that are poems, that are stories, that are autobiographical, from his sort of bare consciousness, Native American roots. And it's one of the most beautiful gifts you can give to someone, and they will sink right deep down into who they are reading the work of N. Scott Momaday. Highly recommend it.
Oh, okay. Louisa.
Well, that's a perfect segue, because going from one Native hero, a contemporary literary hero, to another Native hero, The Path Lit by Lightning by David Moranis. This is the definitive biography of Jim Thorpe, who is the all-around greatest athlete in American history. He was a 1912 Olympic medalist. He played football, baseball, and basketball professionally. He was inducted into the inaugural class of the NFL Hall of Fame, and he ranks near the top of every single greatest American athlete list. He really stood out, even in the golden age of celebrity athletes, he stood out. But despite all of that, he had a really tough life. It was a struggle against the odds. He was a member of the Sac and Fox tribe, and he attended the Carlisle School, which is famous for the line, kill the Indian, save the man. And he was subjected to all kinds of prejudices and indignities of the time. The author, he's a wonderful author, and he sifts through all of the myths around Thorpe and the time, and he predicts a really complicated picture of this man who's so interesting. And what I love about this biography is not only is it a great biography of Jim Thorpe, but it's also a really interesting history, time in America, and coming to terms with all of that. So it's a wonderful, wonderful book, really well written. And then I want to mention one other biography that is also sort of about somebody that's caught in the time that they are alive. This is Salido, and by Javier Zamora, and it is his memoir telling the story of his migration from El Salvador to the United States alone at the age of 9. It's a 3,000-mile journey he did. And it is, you can't believe the kind of hardship and cruelty he experienced along the way, but you also can't believe the kindness and love that he also experienced along the way. It's just a really incredible tale. It's told from the perspective of a child. His parents, when they reached out for him, was actually living in San Rafael, California. So this is a very California story. And he has dreams of the Golden Gate as he's trying to make this trek. It's a really incredible, impressive book. And after we read so many fictional tales about people trying to get into the United States, really interesting and important, I think, to read true stories about people who are making this trek. So Salido.
Okay, I'm gonna cry. All right, on to we're gonna switch vibes here. Mystery, true crime. Mary Lee.
All right, so my first one is Killers of a Certain Age by Deanna Raybourn, and I did read this in one sitting. It's about a group of 60+ women assassins who are on the brink of retirement when they are brought back into the game by a surprising assassination attempt on themselves. They work for a very clandestine organization called the Museum. And as a retirement gift, they are given an all expenses paid Caribbean cruise. And while on the cruise, they discover that someone has been sent there to kill them. Shenanigans ensue. It's a heist caper, it's a thriller, and it's a mystery all in one. The thing that makes this unique is that our heroines are 60+.
Oh my God, it's like the Golden Girls, but assassins.
We cannot keep it in. In fact, I almost wasn't going to talk about it, but they came in this morning. So exactly. The next one I'm going to talk about is The Kingdoms of Savannah by George Doss Green. This is a literary thriller set in Savannah, Georgia. It's definitely a Southern Gothic. It tells the story of a group of people led by Morgana Musgrove, who's a doyen of Savannah society, and she is hired to discover what has happened to 2 members of Savannah's homeless population. And I have a son who lives in Savannah. I know the city pretty well, and it has a very dark underbelly, as we all saw in Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil. And there are a lot of things that happened in this book that I think really happened in Savannah. And it really shows the dark underbelly of the city, but it is a book that also shows that there's hope for the future in this glorious literary city. My favorite chapter is chapter 2. It's titled something like Flannery knew, Flannery was smart, Flannery got out. There are tons of literary references. And if you are fortunate enough to take this book to Savannah, there are many things you can find. There are lots of Easter eggs in this book for you to tour Savannah.
Fun. Okay, John.
When you talk about underbellies, this week we've had the government releasing the committee on the January 6th, and the investigations of an institution that's gone bad in some way, like say the executive branch or something. This is Bad City, Peril and Power in the City of Angels. So it's about USC. And one of the ways in which we can police these institutions is, of course, with great journalists. So Paul Pringle has been investigating first all the incredible abuses of women athletes at USC. And then it led into all kinds of corruption with including the recently failed mayor, Rick Caruso, who was running for office, is involved in the USC board of, and so this explores all the different corruption between the government of Los Angeles and the USC, the heads of USC and various departments throughout the school. Everybody I know who went to USC is reading this book. Some of them are saying they will never donate money to USC after this, but also, of course, everybody who goes to UCLA is reading the book because so it's a very big book in LA, but not only for what it says about USC, but what it says about city government and governments in general, and the necessity to have a kind of powerful journalism to confront and investigate all of these kinds of abuses. But it is a thrilling ride. It's depressing in some ways, scary, and yet to have it brought into sunlight is a big relief. And there's lots of changes afoot in Los Angeles, both at USC and in the city government just now. So it's an inspiring book for those people who like true stories of government malfeasance and also, sadly, university malfeasance. So don't miss it.
Okay.
It's like a novel.
Except it sadly really happened.
Yes.
Louisa, mystery, true crime.
Mysteries. You know, mysteries are my favorite as well, Beth. And I have to say, the ones that Mary mentioned, love them. And as a Bruin, definitely should be reading the one on how terrible USC is. The two that I'm going to talk about really quickly do something that I love that is happening in mysteries today, which is they take an older sort of type of mystery genre and they've updated it with sort of new sensibilities. The first is an incredible writer, Bad Actors by Mick Herron. NPR has called him the best spy novelist in the world writing today. And the BBC has said it's Le Carré of the future. It's part thriller, part sly political humor. It's a series, it's a unique take on the spy novel. And every installment of this I believe is the 8th. And you can enter it at any point. You don't have to start with the first one, but why wouldn't you? Has been nominated for the CWA Gold Dagger or the Ian Fleming Steel Dagger Award, which is the top award in the UK for mystery writers. Slow House, where this takes place, is where washed up spies go when their career has faded. The slow horses, as they are called, are disgraced, have disgraced themselves in some way, either by botching up an op so badly that they can't be trusted anymore, or perhaps they're drinking a little bit too much, which isn't unusual in this line of work. The one thing they have in common, though, is they all want to stay in the game. And in Bad Actors, Herron has expanded this world of bad spies to include a shadier cast of characters with politicians and lobbyists and misinformation agents who are pulling the levers of government policy. Herron's plots are wonderfully twisted. His action scenes are thrilling and fast-paced, but the real draw to this whole series is his dark humor. It is one of the most enjoyable series I have read. It's a real treat. And the other book, which is also a sort of a throwback to noir, is Secrets Typed in Blood by Stephen Spotswood. This is the third in the Pentecost and Parker mystery series. And this series takes gritty noir and sort of shakes it up, gives it a charming twist, and serves it up with a lot of style. This one has our two detectives on the trail of a serial killer in New York City in 1940s. And the detectives are getting all their ideas from the diabolical pages of a pulp writer. Spotswood's readers mention that he reminds them of Agatha Christie or Rex Stout in the reviews. You hear a lot of mention of him because they love seeing queer characters in this genre that they love, but often don't see those representations. It has razor sharp wit, tons of flair, snappy sense of humor, and a lot of really satisfying mystery elements. So a real treat.
Oh my gosh, my relative, I had no idea existed. Must buy. Okay, our time is flying, so we're gonna pick up the pace. We're gonna go fast with young adult and kids. I feel like the most impossible category. We all have younger people on our holiday list. What do we got them? Mary Lee.
All right, so I'm going to talk about this lovely little book called Be Nice, The End. It is written by Brian Skavnik and it's illustrated by Wendy Schrag. What they did is, this is a book written from the view of the playground kids as a microcosm for the world. It's children from all different backgrounds, just trying to get along like all the rest of us. And while it is a children's book, it is for everyone. The illustrations are absolutely brilliant. They sell the book. It almost doesn't matter what it says, but what it says is just as good as the illustrations. That's the beauty. It has 7 sections: inclusion, empathy, courage, acceptance, perseverance, perspective, and kindness. And each page is a new joy and a new face. Buy it for everyone.
Okay,
There you go.
John.
Yes. So, yeah, be nice,
Be kind.
but also be informed, and be informed about all the things that are in Alta about the desert and desertification, but also about botany and indigenous botany. Robin Wall Kimmerer wrote Braided Sweetgrass, and this was adapted for young adults because it's really the young people that we need to have an understanding and a relationship with nature that we may have lost. And that Robin Wall Kimmerer is one of the greatest exponents of. She grew up Native American in the East Coast, studied botany. What's the relationship between 2 different flowers that live symbiotically and they are also beautiful together? Why are they beautiful together? And why are they? So she fuses a kind of spiritual Native American understanding and connection to nature with science, and teaches a 5-year course on botany, including indigenous knowledge. This is for young adults in the nonfiction category, which is a category that is sort of an awkward one, right? You often have all those picture books for children and encyclopedias and all that thing in nonfiction, and then you have tons of fiction. But young adults, even 10-year-old, 12-year-old, 14-year-old kids can read intelligently about all of this great ecological stuff, and also a picture book. Buffy St. Marie. Did you see the new documentary about her on PBS? Anyways, political Native American, beautiful singer and activist of the 60s and 70s and 80s. Beautiful
Gorgeous.
drawings. Yeah. Anyways, it's just a gorgeous, gorgeous picture book for kids.
Love it.
Yeah. Okay.
Louisa.
Okay, moving on to YA for me. I have to talk about I Must Betray You by Ruta Sepetys. Not sure I'm pronouncing your last name right. It's a gut-wrenching, startling historical thriller about communist Romania and the citizen spy network that devastated a nation. It's set in 1989, and the communist regimes are crumbling across Europe, but 17-year-old Christian dreams of becoming a writer. But in Romania, that is not something that is going to be able to happen. They're bound by all these sort of rules and forces. So Christian risks everything to unmask the truth behind the regime and expose to the world what is happening in his country. He eagerly joins the revolution to fight for change when time arrives. And it's thinking about what the true costs of freedom are. Ruta has a knack for writing these incredible books that educate us, but also really entertain us. And she really focuses on these lesser known histories, and they're just vivid, heartbreaking, compelling novel. It has it all. It has poetic writing and sympathetic characters and revolutionary pacing. Adults would even enjoy reading this. She's won countless awards around the world, and when you read it, you understand why, including the Carnegie Medal, actually, for her powerful work. So I Must Betray You.
All right, so we're gonna switch into kind of food crafting. People who are not, what do you get? Someone who loves to cook, craft, DIY, a foodie, Mary Lee.
All right, so I am going to talk about Half Baked Harvest Every Day by Tegan Gerard. She's a well-known food blogger. She has many other cookbooks under her belt. So what makes this one different? Well, rather than educate readers on what they should consume, she offers up a guide to healthy-ish eating with comforting recipes that find their balance in using non-processed ingredients. The other thing about this book that is amazing is that many of the dishes can be ready in 30 minutes or less. And I don't think I have to do anything more than show you this delicious, delicious ravioli on the cover, and you're sold. So there you go. It's great.
I'm sold by healthy-ish.
Yes, healthy-ish. You can still have meat.
Great. John.
Okay, so the book that I wanted to show you is The Sous Chef's Indigenous Kitchen. He also was on the radio recently. Sean Sherman has set up a restaurant and school for teaching Indigenous cooking. It won the James Beard Award, this cookbook, by the way. So we talk about terroir, we talk about farm to table, we talk about organic food, we talk about seasonal food. All of that is very much in California's wheelhouse. But here are people that have been doing it for 15,000 years, cultivating, nurturing, and creating different strains of vegetables for human consumption and preparation. And he uses Native American ingredients, methods, and he's trained in French cooking, and he's a trained chef, but it's not a static or a looking back. It's continuing a tradition that's 15,000 years old, if not longer. It's beautiful, and we all can use the ingredients that are local to us. He also features Indigenous tribes cooking from all over the United States. He's in the upper Midwest, but it's a great gift for anybody that's interested in taking an adventure into a whole other cuisine, which happens to be the one that's native to where we live right now. It's great.
Wow. All right. Louisa.
I have something that it's just such a treat and such a treasure this holiday series, and it's called California Soul by Tanya Holland. And it's the first cookbook to explore the culinary lineage from African-American Great Migration to modern California soul food through recipes. And her inventive cuisine is rooted in Black Southern cultural repertoire. And but she gives everything a 21st century sensibility using local, sustainable, chef-driven, seasonal, all those words that you love, ingredients, and showcased in recipes like collard greens and tabbouleh, or zucchini scallion waffles. That's one of my favorites, with toasted pecan romesco. He does like a grilled shrimp and corn with avocado and white barbecue sauce. I mean, a honey lavender chess pie. It's amazing. But beyond the recipes, Tanya spotlights 15 contemporary Black California food makers, from farmers to coffee roasters and other talented food artisans whose work defines the food in California. And she has essays that explore African-American the diaspora and the cultural significance. She has a historian that helps her write the significance of this migration to California cuisine. Alice Walker writes in the foreword that California Soul is the most beautiful cookbook she's ever read. And it's just, I mean, it's gorgeous. The whole thing it explores a lot of California, the whole state, actually. So it's a real beautiful gift.
Wow. Big words from former Alta Live guest Alice Walker. Okay, the next one on my list is the What to Give the Coworker Neighbor, aka the obligatory gift for the person you kind of know. What is your pick for that, Mary Lee?
Okay, so I actually thought it was interesting when I watched this last year when you all did it, that some people actually were like positing what they could buy their other book people. And I would buy them a Warwick's gift card. I just would like to say that. Giving book people books sometimes is very, very tricky. But the book that most booksellers and most customers pick up off our counter is Ugly Cute by Jennifer McCartney. So this is a compilation of misunderstood and underappreciated species, including the well-known lovable uggos like sun bears and pugs, as well as the obscure weirdos like the star-nosed mole and the eye. So each chapter is dedicated to a different ugly, cute animal. It gives you facts about them. It has quiz, match the ugly, cute animal to its natural habitat. But it is one of those books that you just pick up, people pick it up all the time, and they say, oh, I'd like 5 of these. So I know that it's popular. And if I were going to buy one of my coworkers a book, I would buy them this and a gift card.
When on that topic, do each of your bookstores have gift cards available? Presumably, can we get those online if we cannot get into your stores within the
Yes.
next couple of days?
Yes.
Great.
Yes.
Everyone else do that too. Okay, John, what about you? What do I
Okay.
get?
Originally, I picked the Talks, which is quotes of artists who, speak straight from the heart and don't get all mixed up the way us more wordy literary people do with what we're trying to say. But we sold the last one yesterday. So this is Artifacts from the same publisher, Biden, and fascinating facts about art, artists, and the art world. How are we going to make it through all these challenges that we have ahead of us if we don't have creative imagination that's been fueled by an understanding of what creativity actually is? And it doesn't mean it has to be dry or complicated or super challenging. Learn how artists think, learn about the art world, learn about ways in which you can inspire your coworkers, your friends, with all this fascinating, strange, interesting, because artists are interesting. And it's typical Biden book, really beautiful graphic design, facts, figures, stories, biographies, all kinds of things in a nice, sweet little package. It's a great gift to give to people, and it's a great conversation starter at your holiday parties. Did you know this? Incredible.
God, I love that, because you don't know them, you need something to talk about. So
Yeah.
here, let's talk about this. All right, Louisa.
So just picking up where Mary Beth was talking about, a great gift is always a signed book. And if all of our stores, I promise you, have some incredible signed books in stock, and you should go and see what we have, because that's always a wonderful gift for people. But if you don't feel like doing something like that, maybe something a little silly like the craze across the country, pickleball. Pickleball for All by Rachel Simon is what I'd give everybody. Everybody I know is playing this game now. It was developed on a sleepy summer vacation where 3 dads were together with a bunch of bored kids, and they made up this game. They made up the equipment, and making it a combination of, I guess, ping pong and tennis. They developed pickleball, and now it's this incredible sport that everybody is enjoying. I think the pandemic really brought everybody's looking for something to do. This is Pickleball for All is an entertaining, comprehensive look at the sport. It includes history, rules, equipment, strategy, celebrity players, and trivia. And it's for players of all levels. So it reflects the sport's community spirit. Simon offers a complete overview of the sport, as well as easy to follow steps and expert advice. Like you don't want to be caught in the kitchen during a volley. I don't know if you knew that before, Beth, but
I don't even know.
that's my tip for you for the day.
Okay.
And so read those will learn everything they needed to know, even they didn't know they needed to know about pickleball. And she also has interesting trivia and celebrity things. It's a great entry point. And I think something I want to emphasize is that pickleball is actually one of the interesting and special things about it is it's a very inclusive, all ages, all abilities. I am not athletic at all. and I could play the sport. So I think it's been a real hit. We're selling a ton of these because apparently everybody knows somebody that now plays pickleball.
All right. Last question. I'm sure everyone here is like me. Especially working at Alta, everyone I know is so literary. They're so smart. They have every book in the world. They've read it all. I want to give them something that they would like but don't have. What do I select? Mary Lee.
Okay, so when I got Louisa's list, I did actually immediately go and see if we had the pickleball book, because I actually would vote for that as well. So there's something that I think you could give. But I have chosen Fredman Bachman's novella, The Deal of a Lifetime. And somehow at Warwick's, this book, when it first came out, got a little under, it got missed a tiny bit. And so I am finding more and more that I know a lot of people who have never heard of this and they've never read it. So it's a profound and moving novella, and it's set on Christmas Eve, and it will make you cry and it will bring you joy. And this edition, the new one, is actually illustrated. Sorry, it's nice. You can't really see it, unfortunately, on the screen, but I'm going to read you what Frederick Bachman himself says about this book. This is a short story about what you would be prepared to sacrifice in order to save a life. It was not only your future on the line, but also your past. Not only the places to which you are going, but the footprints you have left behind. If it was all of it, all of you, who would you give yourself up for?
Okay.
How you doing, Beth?
Now I'm just worrying about my 4-year-old child. Okay.
No.
It's Christmas. Okay, great. Wow. Is everyone else just like immediately going shopping to a bookstore after this? Because I am so inspired. Okay, John, hit us.
Okay, so people come to bookstores for all kinds of reasons, and they come to be entertained, and they come to be exposed to things they've never seen before, but they're also looking for facts and figures and things like that. But they're also wanting to get the gift that is more intimate than other things that mean something to the person that's giving them, or things that change them, right? You come to books kind of to be changed, not only to read the same thing you've read before, or you do that as well, but you also come to be transformed a little bit. And so a lot of the books that I picked are ones that if you actually opened them up, you would think, oh, wow, this is just a perfect book for me. And I've never thought about this way. Certainly, I've never thought of USC this way. I've never thought of, cooking and local cooking as far as the actual native plants that are right here. But for the literary, bookish person, Jeff Dyer, who is brilliant and funny, has written a series of essays about famous people and their deaths, including Nietzsche and John Coltrane, and also about people who are not dead, but about various stories within their lives. And he's such a meandering, creative, imaginative, skillful writer. He's just a pleasure for people who are really into reading and really opening themselves wide when they open up a book looking for a great literary experience. And so this is The Last Days, Roger Federer. Jeff Dyer.
Never heard of it. Okay. Louisa.
Okay, so my pick is Musical Tables by Billy Collins. It is always such a joy to have a new poetry collection from Billy Collins. He's the former poet laureate of the United States. And in this collection, Collins focuses on writing very small poems. It's about 125 very small poems in here, all of them new, each of them a thought or observation compressed into these small format poems. With these small poems, Collins has found a new form that he still fits his unique tone into, and he has a wonderful sense of irony. If you ever read him, he touches on all of his trademark themes, which are nature, animals, poetry, morality, absurdity, love. But he does it in these just a handful of lines. It's something you can dip in and out of. It's such a treat. And it was inspired. He has a little essay in the back where he talks about he's inspired by the small poetry writers such as William Carlos Williams or W.S. Merwin, Ray K. Ryan, or Charles Simic. And they're just full of wit and wisdom. And there's one, it's the only one I can remember off the top of my head, and it's called 3 a.m. So only my hand is asleep, but it's a start. I love that. That just gives just a taste of how much fun this book is.
These are incredible recommendations, and all three of you are your passion and enthusiasm and knowledge is so inspiring. Warwick's, Diesel, and Book Passage are all just parts of bookstores we love at Alta. You can find them all as part of we have a whole bookstores of the West Coast section. If you are not near La Jolla, San Diego, Santa Monica, West Hollywood, San Francisco, or Corte Madera, I also encourage you to visit whatever your local independent bookseller is and pick up these books, pick up Alta if it's there, pick up gift cards, support independent booksellers, because they are the ones who show up for events like this and have so much knowledge and enthusiasm and are willing to share it with us for free. So I am so incredibly grateful to all three of you. I really encourage everyone to support these bookstores. Again, this interview, this conversation has been recorded. We're going to email you links to all the books mentioned today. Don't worry, we wrote them down. As well as a recording of this. Please share it with your friends. Go shopping, have so much fun. Alta Live is on a break next week for the holidays. We will be back January 4th with a guy named Tim, I forget his last name, who is rescuing tortoises in the Mojave Desert and finding ways to keep their populations thriving and sustainable, because they're being eaten by ravens. It's a whole thing. It's in our new desert issue. So join us for that. Again, I'm so grateful. I'll give your stores shout outs one more time. Warwick's, Diesel Bookstore, and Book Passage. Thank you all so very much. Happy holidays, and we will see you next year. Take care.
Thanks, Beth.
Thanks.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.